Hello viewers, my name is Luyanda Buti from Gwenyati Senior Secondary School. Welcome to the ECDOE Broadcast Studio. Today's lesson is about how you should prepare for your English Paper 1 examinations, and I'll be unpacking this to your full understanding. Right, now let's look at the objectives of this lesson. Now in this lesson, I want to equip the candidates on how to prepare for English Paper 1 examinations, and also I'll explain what is required for Section A and Section B of the paper, and I'll highlight Question 5 language aspects. Now, the focus of this lesson is only on Section A and Section B and Question 5. And I would love for you to also watch the recording that is broadcasted on the Eastern Cape Broadcast Studio by Miss Mngcono, where she focuses on Question 3 and Question 4, as well as Question 5. Right, now let's get to the lesson then. So, Section A is Question 1 of your paper, and it has the comprehension, which is out of 30 marks. Section B is your Question 2, summary, out of 10 marks. Then Section C is the language, which entails Question 3, the advertisement, Question 4, analysis of a cartoon, Question 5, language and editing skills. So these are the sections that you should expect from your question paper. And in paper 1, we don't choose, you answer the whole question paper, all right? So now we will move then to Section A. As I said, that the focus of this lesson is to equip you on how to answer Section A. Now, the first point is that you need to familiarize yourself. You need to familiarize yourself with the questions. Now, what does this mean? It means that when you are given your question paper, you must scan through the text or just skim through the text, and then also go and check the questions so that when you read the text, you know what is it that the examiners are expecting you to know from the text. So have that interactiveness where you look at the questions and then you familiarize yourself with the text as well. Okay, so now let's look at Section A. Now, in Section A, what you need to do first is to familiarize yourself with the questions. So after you have been given the question paper, you'll be given some minutes to go through the paper. So make sure that you just scan and skim through the text. Right. Okay, so now let's dive into what is expected in Section A. Now, your Section A, as I said, that it's the comprehension. So what you need to do is to familiarize yourself with the questions. So after you have been given the question paper, just skim through the text and then go and familiarize yourself with the questions just before reading the text so that you know what is expected from you. And after that, you need to read the text paragraph by paragraph. Now, I want you to do this in an interactive way. Look at the questions and look at the text and read it paragraph by paragraph. Now, you remember that when the questions in Section A, when you are answering them, you will be referred to a particular paragraph. So make sure that you read that paragraph with understanding. So if it means you need to read the paragraph more than once, then you should do that. And also look at the questions so that you know what is it that the examiners are looking for in that particular paragraph. Do not rush to read through. Take it step by step so that you read with understanding and you are able to score full marks in your comprehension. Now, after that, you need to take note of where possible answers may be. I think I've already said this and I'm putting an emphasis on that you need to highlight then where you feel the answers for that particular question are in the paragraph that you are reading. Also, what you need to do is to interpret and follow the instruction exactly as they are given. Now, if you are asked to give one word or you are asked to state, make sure that you do that. Do not give two words instead of one word. So make sure you interpret and you understand the questions. Now, also check whether the answer requires a full sentence or one word or a phrase. I think I've already said this as well. So stick to the instruction. Make sure that you understand the instruction and you'll be able to get full marks in your comprehension. Now, the other thing is to underline keywords in the question to know exactly what is required by the question. So you'll find that candidates, they just rush to answer without understanding the question. So I am also putting an emphasis on this one. Make sure you understand the question and your response talks to what is asked in the question. Right. Now you need to construct your answers in a clear and concise sentences. Write clearly, write in a way that you also understand, so that the person marking you will also understand your response. Right. And then your answers should relate to the mark allocation per the question. And if answers is worth 2 marks, you should provide 2 separate facts. Now, I think this one is a bit clear that for a question that has got 1 mark, please provide 1 fact. And for a question that has got 2 marks, please provide 2 facts so that you are able to get marks there. So the mark allocation should be your guide to your response. Now, state your point, then substantiate your point when asked to do so. Please adhere to this. You state a point and then you substantiate it if the question requires you to substantiate your answer. But if you are asked to just state the benefits of using Vaseline, then you can just state without substantiating your answer. So please read and understand the question, because remember, comprehension seeks to find your listening and your understanding of the text. So you need to show that you have understood the text and you have understood the questions. Right. So do not assume that the examiner will know what you are referring to. Provide detailed explanations. This emphasizes the fact that your answers should be clear and should be based on the comprehension. Avoid starting sentences with conjunctions such as because and but and so. So when you are answering your comprehension questions, please do not start your responses with a conjunction. You must avoid that because it will make you lose marks. Right. Now, also, number your answers correctly according to the numbering system used in the question paper. Please do not change the numbering. Even if you decide to start with another question that maybe it's the second question, keep the numbering that is on the question paper so that you don't lose marks unnecessarily. Right. Then please heed to the instruction of leaving a line open between every answer so that the person marking you can be able to spot your answers. So write clearly by leaving just a line, just one line between your answers. Construct your answers in clear and concise form. I think we have already said this one. Now, when you are asked to quote from the text or passage, enclose the quote with inverted commas. Now, the question will ask you to quote, and when we quote, we put what we call inverted commas. Make sure that you do not forget this. Right, you also need to master the techniques of dealing with specific types of questions, e.g., discuss, explain, consecutive words, substantiate your answer using your own words. Now, you need to practice previous question papers so that you familiarize yourself with discussions when you are asked to discuss what is expected from you. Now, you are expected to discuss according to the question and according to what the comprehension says. And when you are asked to explain, you'll be explaining something that is found in the comprehension. Now you put it in more simple terms. That is what is expected from you when you are explaining. Now, the issue of consecutive words, this sometimes becomes a bit problematic. Now, when you are asked to quote consecutive words are words that follow each other. They might not necessarily make up a full sentence, but as long as they are answering the question, then you can quote those words because they are answering the question. So the question will guide you to quote maybe 2 consecutive words, 3 consecutive words, 4 consecutive words, as long as that those 4 consecutive words answer the question, then you must quote them. And remember to put the inverted commas. Right. When you're also asked to substantiate your answer, here it's whereby you state a point and then you give a reason. So substantiation means giving a reason why you have taken this as your point that answers the question. Then you must then explain or substantiate or give a reason why you are saying what you have picked is a point to that. I hope this one is also clear. And then the use of own words. This sometimes becomes a problem where candidates think that they are supposed to write something outside or something that is outside of the comprehension. Own words means that you write what is still in the comprehension, but you write it now using your own words or using simple English that is understandable other than the one that is used in the comprehension. But the meaning should not change. Right. You can expect a question on the title of the passage. Now, this one is also one of the problematic questions where candidates are unable to state why the title is relevant. Now, when you come across this question, you must state that the title, you must take a stance where you say the title is relevant and then you give a reason. And your reason should be based on the body of the text. How does the text support the title? For the title to be relevant, it should be evident in the text. So your duty then is to highlight what supports the title from the text. And if you decide to say the title is not relevant, then you still need to talk about what is happening in the body of the text that you feel does not really talk to the title. So this question requires you to show the relationship between the text and the title, and then you'll be able to get your marks there if you feel there is a relationship. Now, if you feel that the title is not relevant, then you need to highlight what is it that is missing in the text that you feel should have been there for the text to be, for the title to be suitable. I hope this one is clear. That's a 2 marks question. Now, you also need to refer to past question papers and to the marking guidelines to familiarize yourself on how answers are constructed when you are answering a summary. So the past question papers will guide you on how responses should be constructed. Right. I think we are done with section A, the comprehension, which just seeks you to read with understanding, understand the question, as well as understand what is it that is needed from you. When you are asked to use your own words, do not change the meaning. And when you are asked to quote consecutive words, make sure that the words follow each other. All right, now let's move to the summary writing, which is the section B of this paper. Now, what you need to do here, you need to read and follow instructions. Now, I always say English FAL is different from home language, where in home language you will be asked to write a paragraph when you are writing your summary. But in English FAL, we don't write our summaries in a paragraph form, but we write it in a point form where you number your points. So then what you also need to do is identify the topic you have to summarize. Now, I think I have an example here where you are asked to summarize. So these are the instructions. So this is an example of your summary writing. Then the instructions here, you are asked to list 7 ways to practice self-care. So you underline this because this is going to be your point of reference. Whenever you are looking for a point, you must make sure that the point talks to the question that you are, or to the topic or to the question that you are asked to answer. Right. So you must read the passage with the topic in mind. I think I've also already said this, that you underline the topic, make sure that the topic, you understand the topic, and when you are reading the passage, make sure that you keep referring to the topic. You should ask yourself, am I answering the question? So the question in this case says list 7 ways to practice self-care. So from this text, we'll be looking for 7 ways to practice self-care. Right. Then, when you are reading the text now, what do you need to do? You need to underline the fact in the text and number it. Then rewrite in your own words without changing the original meaning. So now, as you are reading the text, make sure that you highlight, you underline where the facts, or where you find facts that talk to 7 ways to practice self-care. So here, let's say you find a point where it says spend, let me look for this. Yeah. So where you find a point which says spend time with friends and family. So if this then answers the question, you must underline it and refer to your title and make sure that you answer the question. Right. The other thing that you need to do, you also need to begin your points with instructive verbs or descriptive verbs. So make sure that you just answer the question. So here we are looking for 7 ways in which one can practice self-care. So you can start your points with instructive verbs or descriptive verbs so that you avoid using long sentences. Now, leave out examples, illustrations, and unnecessary information. Now, in the summary, we just look for facts that talk to the topic. Do not bring in examples, do not bring in illustrations, do not bring in any unnecessary information, but just focus on answering the question. Right, I think I've already said this one where your summary must be written in point form. And sometimes I use numbered form. I don't know if it's a correct English, but this is to emphasize that you don't use bullets when you are writing your points, but you number your points. As the instruction will tell you, number your points from 1 up to 7. So when you are writing your summary, make sure that you number your points. Right. Write your 7 points in full sentences using no more than 70 words. Please do not exceed the number of words. Now, with summary writing, you are expected to write a maximum of 70 words. Do not exceed, because you see what the markers do? If you exceed the 70 words, they won't read anything that is beyond 70 words. So your summary should be within 70 words. It can be less than 70, but you should not exceed 70 words. So make sure that your points are clear, and when you start your points with the instructive and the descriptive verbs, that will help you to just write one clear point that talks to the question. Right. I think you also need to indicate the number of words you have used in brackets at the end of your summary. Do not add your own information. Now, in summary writing, you are expected to use your own words. But remember, like I said, your own words should not change the meaning or should not change what is said there. But it's a way of using synonyms, but still saying the same thing. So make sure that you use your own words, but you still keep the points that are said in the summary. Right, now let's look at an example of a summary here. Section B, summary writing. So section B, summary, question 2. Self-care is about taking care of yourself in a way that protects and improves your physical and emotional well-being. Read the passage, text C below, and list 7 points to practice self-care. You can even see there ways to practice self-care is written in bold, because this is your topic, this is your point of reference. Now, there are the instructions. Your summary must be written in point form. List your 7 points in full sentences using no more than 70 words. Number your sentences from 1 to 7. Write only 1 point per sentence. Use your own words as far as possible. Indicate the total number of words you have used in brackets at the end of your summary. Now, I think we have already said this. Now, read the summary paragraph by paragraph and keep on referring to the question. So here it says, self-care is about taking time to give yourself what you need to develop and grow. It is not about being selfish. Does that give out ways to practice self-care? And the answer is no. Then you need to continue reading until you find a statement that gives out ways to practice self-care. Right. So I won't read the whole thing, but you can do it at your spare time. Now, these are the possible answers. Be with friends and family. And where is this point taken? It is taken from the second paragraph, where it says, humans are social beings who need to connect with others and spend time with friends and family. Visiting friends and spending time with loved ones can be good for your mental health. So now we are getting a point where it talks about ways to practice self-care. Visiting friends and spending time with loved ones can be good for your mental health. Right. So that's how you find points in summary writing. And it is very easy to get the 10 marks for summary writing. Just make sure that you practice and then you are able to score marks there. Right. Now let's move to section C. Now your section C is language and editing. Now you should expect the following from section C. Make sure that you revise your tense. Now, tense is taught as early as grade 4 or grade 1 for that matter. So make sure that you go back and revise your tense, your present tense, your future tense, your past tense, your continuous tense, your perfect tense. Make sure that you revise those, because you will need them in most sections of this question. So you must know the tense. You must also know the apostrophe, when and how to use the apostrophe. Now, you must know the roles of an apostrophe, where an apostrophe shows ownership, where an apostrophe shows contraction. So you must know, where do we put the apostrophe, right? Then the prepositions, these are your parts of speech. So prepositions, which correct preposition, is it inside or it's on top, or so you need to know those. And also you need to take note of the punctuation. Punctuation will also be required maybe to correct. So you should expect these on the question which seeks you to correct a single error, where you find there's an apostrophe error and then you need to correct the apostrophe. So you can't go to your paper one without knowing these. So make sure that you revise and you study them. Right, your vocabulary, your spelling, your abbreviations and acronyms. You must know the difference between an abbreviation and an acronym, because you'll be required maybe to give an acronym or to give an abbreviation. Now, you also need to take note of a concord. Now, we say a concord is a subject-verb agreement. So there should be an agreement between the subject of the sentence and the verb. So when you are asked maybe to correct a single error, please check if there are no concord errors in that particular sentence. The subject should agree with the verb. Right, you also need to know the active and the passive voice. You must be able to change sentences from active voice to passive voice, or to change sentences from passive voice to active voice. And now these depend on rules. So you must study language rules. You must remind yourself about language rules so that you are ready for your question 5. The other aspect is the direct and indirect speech, singular and plural form, negative form. Now, your direct and indirect speech, you need to also revise. Go back to the rules. What changes? What changes? And when you are given this question on direct and indirect speech, it is important for you to underline what changes. Does your sentence have a pronoun? And you know that a pronoun will change. So you underline the punctuation. Please score that mark for punctuation. Make sure you remove those inverted commas and you insert a comma after that, and then you also put a full stop at the end of your sentence. Singular and plural form, the negative form, you should also know. So you must be able to change a sentence from singular form to plural form, or from plural form to singular form. Now, when you are changing sentences from singular form to plural form, or the other way around, make sure that every word that is supposed to change to be in a form of a singular, if you are taking the sentence to a singular form, you change every word that is supposed to go to the singular form in the sentence. Because what we normally observe as teachers is that learners tend to change just the first word, and you find if there's a conjunction and there's another word after the conjunction, that one will be left unchanged. So make sure your verbs, your nouns, make sure that your nouns there are changed. Right, then the negative form sentence there, make sure that your verb, when you have changed a sentence to the negative form, make sure that you use the correct verb. Then there's a question of the tag question. So the negative form and the tag question, you must understand both of them, because you will need that information. So when you're answering the tag question, you need to first identify whether the statement is in the positive form or the statement is in the negative form. And what do we know? We know that if the statement is in the positive form, the tag question will be in the negative form. And if the statement is in the negative form, then the tag question will be in the positive form. So you see how important it is to be able to identify whether the sentence or the statement is in the positive or it is in the negative form. Also, revise your degrees of comparison. I think we also did this as far as grade 2, where the teacher would draw a tall boy, and then the other one is taller than the other one, and then that one is the tallest. So you need to know your degrees of comparison, the comparative form as well as the superlative form. You need to know those. Then lastly, you also need to know how to combine two short sentences into one sentence. Now, this is based on, you must understand the type of sentences that we have: the simple sentence, compound sentence, as well as the complex sentence. And you must be able to combine those sentences as instructed by the question, as well as using the correct word of the correct form of the word. So at times you'll be given a noun, and that noun you need to write it for it to fit in the sentence. It should be a verb. So you must be able to correct those things and score good marks in your question 5. Right, now in conclusion, pay attention to each and every detail in the paper. Paper 1 requires you to read with understanding and paying attention to every detail. Now also manage your time. Now you'll see that in the question paper, in the cover page where there are instructions, you'll be guided on how to split your times. So make sure that you manage your time and you finish writing. Follow the instructions. Now, paper 1 is all about rules. So if, for instance, you are asked to correct a word that is in the middle of the sentence, and when you are writing it, you start it with a capital letter, and yet it was in the middle of the sentence, you might get that mark wrong because you have not adhered to the language rules, where we know that when a word is in the middle of the sentence, then you should start it with a small letter. So pay attention to those small things that can make you lose marks. Answer all questions and make sure that you respond to the questions. Prepare for your examinations so that you score good marks in your paper 1. I wish you all the best. Now we have come to the end of our lesson. You can leave your questions on the comment section. Do not forget to leave the name of your school so that we give you a shout out. Please share, recommend, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching this lesson.